Have you ever wanted to see a cute little piglet trotting through a pasture? Have you ever wanted to see liberal elitists get what's coming to them? Have you ever wanted to see the silhouette of the state of Florida tatted on a grown man's face? If so, stay tuned. This might just be the movie for you. Hello everyone, I'm Oxtapuss, that's Matty Pockets, and welcome to our first ever movie review. This is a new series where we'll be doing movie reviews for all your favorite films. Due to reasons, I'll be your only narrator for now, but don't worry, we'll have Matty Pockets back in no time. That's enough of an introduction, let's get right into the movie review for The Hunt. The Hunt was originally supposed to debut on September 27th of 2017, but was delayed due to mass shootings across the country, and the studio believed that this movie that boasts much gun violence would come across as distasteful to the general public. Therefore, the studio pushed back the domestic release almost 3 full years to March 13th, 2020. However, with the coronavirus ultimately affecting its box office, Universal Pictures decided to release the film on premium on-demand services only a week after its theatrical release. The Hunt was directed by Craig Zobel, and only his 5th movie directed, with nothing of particular notoriety beforehand. His producer for this film was Jason Blum of the Purge television show that was cancelled after only 2 seasons. And lastly, the cinematographer was Darren Tiernan of the Star Trek and Perry Mason remake television shows. Overall, the behind-the-scenes production department seems to lack any real high-tier prominent experience, which is even more worrisome when you consider the movie's runtime of exactly 90 minutes. And for those of you that don't know, 90 minutes is the quota time that executives put on directors to ensure films' maximum profit for minimum amount of work and screen time. But that's it for all the production bullshit. Let's find out what happens when people stop being polite and start getting hunted. The movie opens with what could only be described as the world's most active group message, as everyone responds in literally 1 second. They seem to be discussing an upcoming hunt and, quote, the manor. We then transition to Richard, played by Glenn Howerton of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, on a plane acting like an uppity, pretentious asshole as he speaks to the stewardess. He mentions Athena, played by a mother I'd like to kiss, Hilary Swank. We learn much later on to be this movie's main antagonist. We quickly learn something is up as a behemoth of a man emerges from the back of the plane, stumbling, appearing to have been drugged, and wearing double denim like he's freaking Chuck Norris. Then some guy claiming to be a doctor lays the behemoth down and administers some involuntary euthanasia as the doctor jams a pen into the behemoth's neck before being finished off by a mystery lady using a high heel to impale his eyeball. The behemoth's dying body is then dragged into a room where he dies as he's laying next to our unconscious apparent protagonist, played by Emma Roberts of a plethora of different movies including We're the Millers. Our unconscious apparent protagonist is now our conscious apparent protagonist as she wakes up in the forest with a locked gag in her mouth. She looks across the way and sees a lady that looks like she walked straight out of Orange is the New Black and 50 Shades of Grey crossover film. We later learn this lady to be a total badass, but back to Yoga Pants Lady. Our apparent protagonist then walks her way into a large pasture and sees a bunch of other gag folks with a big mysterious wooden crate in the middle. One of the gaggies decides to open up the box with a crowbar he finds, and everyone else runs to the tree line, believing this to be some type of trap. The brave gaggee finally gets the crate open, and what's in it? Oh, it's just the most adorable little piglet you've ever done seen. The brave gaggee walks up to the crate and pulls out a large wall of guns, and everyone loses their fear and understandably beelines for the weapons. Yoga Pants Lady finds a key in the lid of the crate and passes it around so everyone can ungag themselves as she meets Mr. Stereotypically Handsome Guy, and us as an audience get the hint that maybe he's going to be our apparent protagonist's right-hand man in this movie. Meanwhile, everyone else begins exercising their Second Amendment rights as they become friendly with the weapon wall. The group then come under fire from an unknown source, and as Yoga Pants Lady tries to take cover, our apparent protagonist gets her freaking head exploded by a rifle. Now you know why I was calling her the apparent protagonist and not the protagonist. Winky face. So I guess now Mr. Stereotypically Handsome Guy is going to be our protagonist, right? Well, absolutely not, because not even 2 minutes later, Mr. Stereotypically Handsome Guy steps on a landmine and is blown to smithereens. Next, we're introduced to Ike Barinholtz of a bunch of different movies and television shows, such as Mad TV, and he's crawling through the forest like a big bearded baby. He runs through the forest until he reaches a fence and joins with Brave Gaggee, Some Ginger Lady, and Vanilla Nice, making us Floridians look bad with his unbearable face tat. Everyone but Brave Gaggy make it over the fence as he is killed by bow and arrow like he's in the Wrong Turn franchise. Our trio of two-dimensional characters run until they stumble upon a gas station occupied by the owners, who act scared and are definitely not bad guys. The owners, who totally aren't bad guys, lie and say that they're in Arkansas, and Ike calls the cops, who also, obviously, aren't bad guys. Ginger Lady eats a poison donut and dies. Ike is shotgunned in the torso and dies. Vanilla Nice inhales some mystery gas or some bullshit and dies. Oh no, they were such deep, interesting characters. Anyway, they clean up the dead bodies while spewing a bunch of elitist, mildly racist mumbo-jumbo like they're at a Trump rally, and then they're informed that there are other hunted folks on the way. From Act 1, we see a lot of bloodshed, which did include nice suspense in the first scene where they were found in the pasture and grabbed the weapons. While the overall course and underlying atmosphere of the movie did this scene no service, on its own it was very well done. The gruesomeness of the scene was a little bit exaggerated with regards to Emma Roberts' head being completely blown off, but in general, the suspense and confusion which was created in the scene through the use of the unlocatable source of gunfire in the initial attachment and then killing of a variety of characters did kick off the action in a thrilling way, even though it resulted in a bit of reduced character development up to this point. But anyway, now our lady Crystal from before stumbles upon the gas station and figures out that the owners are actually bad guys. Who would have thought? Then she does some Jason Bourne maneuvers until she kills them both with a shotgun. We listen to some shitty music that the composer Nathan Barr must have thought was good. You know, I don't expect too much from the man that did the music for The House with a Clock in Its Walls and the 2017 Flatliners remake, but come on man, what is this shit? Then Crystal walks outside and hides from a drone that is flying around scouting the area. Some guy dressed like a retired gym teacher shoots it out of the sky, and Crystal roasts him for being a dick and giving away their position. Retired gym teacher talks about something called Manorgate, which is where rich folks capture not so rich folks and hunt them for sport. The pair walk through the woods and see a moving train, so they jump on, and inside, there's a bunch of illegal immigrants, because of course. Also, something interesting here, when Crystal boards the train, she throws her gun onto the train, then climbs in herself. However, when the camera switches its perspective, we see her entering the train with gun in hand. That's some great continuity right there. Back to retired gym teacher. He now accuses these immigrants of being crisis actors and of being in on the ploy to hunt them, while Crystal seems to believe that they are actually just immigrants. The train stops and a bunch of soldiers, speaking a language that certainly isn't English, orders everyone to get off the train. The soldiers start roughhousing immigrants, as soldiers do, and as they walk away, one of the immigrants admit that they are part of the Manorgate hunt. Then, retired gym teacher gets pissed at fake immigrant because fake immigrant called him buddy. I'm not your buddy, guy! So retired gym teacher tackles him, and they wrestle until retired gym teacher grabs a grenade that falls out of fake immigrant's backpack. He shoves it down fake immigrant's pants, and he runs away as fake immigrant explodes. Crystal is now by herself and is transported to some detention camp like it's California in the 1940s. Know your country's history, even if you're not proud of it. Next, Crystal is taken to the leaders of the camp, where we learn that she is originally from Mississippi, but is somehow now in Croatia, even though they were told they're in Arkansas, but made even more confusing because this movie was exclusively shot in New Orleans and other rural parts of Louisiana. It's a good old-fashioned location palooza. Crystal meets up with another supposed victim at the refugee camp named Dawn. Dawn seemingly encompasses the red-blooded American in both style and by the way in which he relishes in the hopes that he'll be given an appearance on Hannity. Ew. Dawn and Crystal are then rescued by a representative who takes them out of the refugee camp and begins asking questions as to why they might have been picked to be the subjects of Manorgate. With this, Dawn whines like a wimpy little bitch as Crystal suddenly kicks the driver out of the car and runs over his goddamn head, and it sounds like someone doing a cannonball into a watermelon patch. Crystal then recites a disturbing version of the tortoise and the hare, in which she recites the turtle and the jackrabbit, but adds a portion to the original fable in which the jackrabbit is a cold-hearted bastard and seeks revenge by murdering the turtle, his family, and then eating their dinner. Crystal then finds a map in the trunk along with the body of retired gym teacher, and the pair find their way to the liberal elite's hideout. Here, Crystal must have mistaken herself for SEAL Team 6 and must have mistaken the remaining participants of the hunt for Osama bin Laden, because she invades their underground bunker and absolutely slaughters all of them, including Dawn when she realizes that he is also working for the other side. Crystal reveals to the National Guard officer who was hired to train the elites and orchestrate the hunt that she served in Afghanistan. She shoots him without hesitation and heads off to the central manor house per direction of a voice coming through the radio to the base. This begins a flashback sequence in which it's revealed that Athena, the leader of the group and occupant of the manor house, first discussed Manorgate in a group text, and it was all supposedly just a joke. This led to a conspiracy theory when the text leaked that Manorgate was an actual plan. The members of the group text lost their jobs and their reputations were damaged, and so to seek revenge, they actually held a Manorgate and chose subjects based upon their level of promoting the conspiracy in the public context. So yeah, these people were being hunted because they were all alleged conspiracy theorists that sullied the reputations of these elitist assholes who I'm sure had completely unstayed reputations before all this. When the slide of crystal is displayed in the projection, Athena immediately jumps and says, "That's Snowball." In the second act, the movie has really taken a more serious tone, albeit still very surface level. While the first act centered around the humor, mystery, action, and suspense, the movie has transitioned into explicitly liberal elites versus the conservative common man. While this can be an interesting concept on its face, it's really hard to care too much about the plight of these characters because besides Crystal, we as an audience have spent next to no other real significant time with any other character. It's not a coincidence that I've been making up silly nicknames for the characters, because to call them by their given names would be to imply that these are actual round characters, not just two-dimensional stand-ins. But anywho, the flashback ends and Crystal is now arriving at the manor house where she meets Athena, as Athena cooks her a grilled cheese sandwich and informs Crystal that she was picked because of the comments she made, and also proceeds to tell her how much she seems to know about Crystal's family. Crystal then explains to Athena that she is not the person who made those comments, but another person with the same name. Crystal explains that she got the quote-unquote real Crystal's mail all the time, since they share the same name, but is adamant that she is not the person who promoted the Manorgate conspiracy theories. Athena doesn't seem to care, and is still angry, so they take turns beating each other's asses as the two engage in a very drawn-out fight sequence. As Crystal eventually succeeds, Athena lies on the ground dying, and Crystal asks why they called her Snowball. Athena tells Crystal that it is a reference to George Orwell's Animal Farm and the character Snowball. Crystal explains to Athena that the reference doesn't make much sense considering Snowball is not the villain in the story, but rather an idealist that just wants the best for the farm. Athena seems surprised, not expecting that someone she perceives to be a hick or a redneck to be at all familiar with the classics of George Orwell. The jackrabbit enters in the final scene as somewhat of a symbolic reference to her story, in answering Dawn's prior question as to who the jackrabbit was and who was the turtle. Crystal eats the grilled cheese, embodying the same way the jackrabbit ate the turtle's food. Crystal cleans herself up, takes Athena's dress, and flies home while offering the attendant from the beginning to join her in taking a seat, having some caviar, and drinking champagne. This is quite a fun little parallel to the first scene where the pretentious Manorgate assholes treated the stewardess quite unkindly. And with that, our movie concludes. So, to sum it up, The Hunt is a movie that actually well serves the time of its release. It offers 90 minutes of fun, some laughs, and a mildly interesting take on the most dangerous game plot. While it is filled largely with stock characters and can at times be bland, by the time the jackrabbit and the box turtle scene take place, the tension builds and Crystal is given some life as a character. Technically speaking, the film is right smack in the middle. It follows the general rules of filmmaking, shots are not groundbreaking, and direction follows a routine style which may be seen by any number of other directors. But it's not likely that anyone who chooses to rent The Hunt is looking for revolutionary camera angles and cinematic mastery. It is exactly what you would expect. Nothing more, nothing less. While it does not explore the political themes beyond the most shallow level, it does not promise to do so, and in a way, it's very aware that it is only touching the surface of America's current political division. The tropes poke fun at both conservative redneck culture, the sort of red-blooded, gun-loving American that might be seen at a Trump rally, and poses them against the liberal elitists who sip on high-brand champagne and eat caviar on their private jets. It doesn't take its political context too seriously, and in that way is enjoyable regardless of any political messaging one may derive from the film. So if you have 90 minutes on a rainy day, or are stuck inside during quarantine, go ahead and give it a watch. It's fun enough for what it is, and some of the silly action and suspense can be pretty entertaining. There's just no promises that you're going to feel compelled to revisit this film in the future. As such, we rate The Hunt 5 cute little piggies out of 10. So that concludes our very first movie review. It was the review of the 2020 movie The Hunt. So take it easy on us, you little bastards. This is our first ever video. But seriously, we'd like to thank you so much for watching. We spent an immense amount of time making this video, so if you would like to show some support, clicking that like button or also subscribing would help us out tremendously. And please do not hesitate to comment movies that you would like to see us review next. We're all ears. Lastly, I will be linking my Twitch in the description if anyone would like to come talk movies, play games, or just hang out with us. So, as you should know by now, I'm Oxtapuss, that's Matty Pockets, and this has been the movie we view for The Hunt. Deuces.